Hello guys, in today's video we are going to do the stock analysis of Jubilant Ingrevia which got demerged from Jubilant Life Sciences. I've got a lot of requests for the stock analysis of this company, and before we begin, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon to activate the notifications, and you can follow me on different social media channels as well. Let's get started. So Jubilant Ingrevia is a global life science products and solutions provider. So each word has a significance here. Firstly, it's a global company. It has presence globally. It exports to different countries across the world, and it is into selling of products and also into services. When we say services, we mean that it's into contract manufacturing services. It serves different industries such as pharma, nutrition, agrochemical, personal care. There are three segments in this company we'll discuss in detail. They also do customized products and services in contract manufacturing. They have a very broad portfolio of different products which they manufacture. It's a very well diversified company. Then a few highlights. It's 40% revenues come from exports. It has more than 1400 plus customers. 15 out of the top 20 pharma companies of the world are their clients. 7 out of the top 10 agro countries of the world, companies of the world are their clients. Their reach is in more than 50 plus countries, and they manufacture more than 100 products. They are experts in 35 plus different chemistry technologies or processes. So this expertise gives them an advantage of diversifying their business in various products in different categories. They have more than 2,100 plus people working with them. As you know, 1st February 2021 onwards, this got demerged from the life sciences business got demerged from Jubilant Life Sciences, and the pharma business continued as Jubilant Pharmova. The purpose of creating this different entities was to increase the focus on different businesses, to unlock the shareholder value, and also to capture attractive growth opportunities. As you all know, the founders of the Jubilant Group are Mr. Shyam S. Bhartia and Mr. Hari S. Bhartia. This is a well-known, reputed business group in India, which gives us a lot of satisfaction and confidence in investing in their group companies. The present managing director and CEO of this company is Mr. Rajesh Srivastava. He's associated with the Jubilant Group for more than 2 decades. He's a BTech in chemical technology from Kanpur. He has done masters in marketing from Mumbai University, and he's one of the first directors of Jubilant Life, and he has more than 32 years of experience in the industry, out of which 26 years of experience is in specialty chemicals. So you can see that the company is managed by a very well experienced person. He has earlier worked in Ranbaxy Fine Chemicals, Shalimar Paints, and Indophil Chemicals. He has held various positions in different industries and forums. Now let's understand a brief history and milestones of this company. In 1978, it was incorporated as VAM Organic Chemicals. In 1981, they started their plant of acetic anhydride and acetic acid plants in UP. In 1990, they started pyridine and picoline manufacturing in UP. In 1998, they acquired Neera facility in Maharashtra. In 1999, they commissioned additional capacity of pyridine and acquired vitamin B4 facility in Gujarat. In 2000, they started a multi-product plant in UP and also ethyl acetate plant in Maharashtra. During 2006 to 2012, there were different capacity expansions and capex plans executed, and they also started manufacturing vitamin B3. In 2013 to 2018 period, they again had several expansions done, and they also started agro intermediate manufacturing, and they started a world-class plant of chlorinated pyridine. And in 2021, this company got demerged from Jubilant Life Science. I have gone through and not found any corporate governance issue, as this is a very reputed business group. Now let's understand the business model. They are broadly into 3 different business segments. The first one is the specialty chemicals, second one is nutrition and health solutions, and third one is life science chemicals. On a broad basis, if you see, each segment has further small divisions. Like in specialty chemicals, they have specialty ingredients, fine chemicals, crop protection chemicals, and CDMOs. In nutrition and health, they have nutrition and health ingredients, animal nutrition and health, and human nutrition and health. In life science chemicals, they have life science ingredients and specialty ethanol. So we'll discuss about this in detail now. The first one, which is specialty chemicals. In this, let's start with specialty ingredients. Ingredients are substances which are one stage before the actual chemicals. So before the chemical comes into existence, the intermediates are produced. So over 30 years of experience they have in pyridine chemistry. So they have almost a leadership in this type of chemistry, and pyridine is used to dissolve other substances. So this is used in different industries to manufacture medicines, vitamins, food flavorings, paints, dyes, insecticides, etc. So you can see that this material has a wide use. They are the only manufacturers with both forward and backward integration in pyridine chemistry. So this gives them a lot of advantage. This vertical integration of manufacturing right from the raw material till the finished product gives them a lot of advantage in terms of competitive strength and cost advantage also. They have backward integration of pyridine and also picolines. They have world-class plant in UP for this. In this chemistry, they manufacture various chemicals like pyridines, cyanopyridines, aldehydes, picolines, piperidines, oil field chemicals. So these are the different things they manufacture. In fine chemicals, which is the second part of the specialty chemicals, as we see here, this is into value added chemicals, which is a more advanced form of the ingredients. So in value added derivatives, these are called specialty ingredients. They have number one position globally in manufacturing acetyl pyridines, aminopyridines, halopyridines, pyridines, aldehydes, and metal complexes. So in this specific type of chemistry, they are globally number one. They offer more than 240 plus pyridine based value added products. And they have a global leadership position also in cetyl pyridium chloride, which is used in poultry, personal care, and oral care industry. So broadly, you can understand that this company is very much vertically integrated, and in a lot of chemistries, they have in global and Indian leadership positions. Coming to the crop protection chemicals, which is the third part of the specialty chemicals, this is into value added derivatives such as aminopyridines, halogenated pyridines, etc. And these are used in insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, and other crop chemicals. There are more than 8 products that are used in more than 12 herbicides. There are about 8 products used in 9 plus fungicides. So like this, they have different products used in different fungicides, herbicides, etc. Then coming to the contract manufacturing part of the specialty chemicals, they have become a partner of choice over several years, working with different companies and having very good relations with them. Out of 2019 global innovator pharmaceutical companies are their clients. Out of 10, 7 global agrochemical companies are their clients. So by this, you can understand the clients trust them from decades together and continue to maintain the relation with them. They are working recently, as you know, they're working on intermediates which are used in manufacturing of remdesivir, which is a COVID-19 medication. And in contract manufacturing, they do right from the research stage, design stage, till process development, manufacturing, and delivery. So they have a complete integrated value service offering to their clients. Coming to the next part, which is nutrition and health solutions. In this, again, there are broadly 3 divisions. First one is related to the ingredients, second is animal health, and third one is human health. So coming to the ingredients again, in this, their main product is vitamin B3, which is in scientific terms called chromium and zinc. And in this, again, they have both forward and backward integrations done. They also manufacture products in nutrition like herbal chlorine, riboflavin, phosphates, sodium, etc. These products have application in animal nutrition, human nutrition, and personal care products like different soaps and creams which we use in our daily life. In B3, globally, they are the second largest manufacturers. So they have a very strong hold in manufacturing of vitamin B3 globally. Coming to the animal nutrition and health solutions, they have very high quality feed additives and solutions to enhance the performance of livestock. They have more than 24 plus products which are offered, which are broadly classified into health ingredients and performance ingredients. So broadly for animal nutrition, there are 2 types of offerings: the products or substances which improve the health of the animals. The second thing which improve the performance. When we say performance, that means the animals perform better in terms of better strength and better yields like the milk and the eggs which they give. It is the world's second largest in manufacturing of vitamin B3 and India's largest in manufacturing of vitamin B4. So for India, they are the top in B4. And all these are used in different animal categories like aqua, pets, swine, dairy, and poultry. Coming to the human health, they are into food ingredients, premixes, solutions for nutrition, bakery, beverages, confectionaries, and nutraceutical industry. So these are the broad categories of products in the human health. In nutritional premixes, They make things like vitamin, minerals, amino acids, and nutraceuticals. They also make antioxidants like rosemary and green tea extracts, and they are also into straight ingredients like chlorine products, citric acid, etc. Coming to the third segment, which is the life science chemicals. In this, again, there are broadly two parts: life science ingredients and specialty ethanol. Now, coming to the life science ingredients, in this, they manufacture ingredients which are based on acetyls and ketene chemistry. In ketene chemistry, also, they have a very strong foothold, and now they are further diversifying in this segment. In acetic anhydride, acetic acid, and ethyl acetate, these are used in pharmaceuticals, agrochemicals, and solvents. They are one of the top merchants in the world in acetic anhydride manufacturing for almost 4 decades. So in this category also, you can see they have global leadership. They rank among the top 10 players in the world for acetyl products, and they have expertise in ketene chemistry, as we have discussed, and they are further growing and going deep in this chemistry. They have growth expansion plans coming up. The last segment, which is into specialty ethanol, they manufacture specialty grades of ethanol from sugarcane molasses. They also manufacture CO2, which is used by companies which make aerated drinks like the Coca-Cola company. They manufacture absolute alcohol, which is used in pharma, chemicals, and fragrances. They manufacture rectified spirits. They also manufacture fuel ethanol, which is used by oil marketing companies for their fuel products. So this is about their business segments. Now let's understand how is the revenue structure. The revenue comes from different industries, so there is not much of a risk to this company as their customer base is diversified. 35% comes from pharma, 20% from nutrition, 18% from agro, 23% from industrial, and 3% from consumer. So even if an industry is going through a very much a downturn, this company will not be much affected. If you see, the top 10 customers contribute only 20% of their sales. So which shows, and the rest of the sales, if you see, are diversified into 1400 plus customers. So any one customer going away from them will not affect much their revenue. By geography, if you see, again, it's quite widespread. In India, it's about 40%, and deemed export is 20%. Europe is 19%, North America is 5%, China 8%, Japan 1%, and rest of the world 7%. So they are not dependent on only one country for their entire revenue. If you see the segmental revenue, specialty chemicals contribute 34%, nutrition and health solutions about 18%, which is growing. They are focusing on this segment a lot now. And the life science chemicals contribute about 48%. This is for the latest 9 months results. Let's understand the market and the industry, how the market is growing in the products which they manufacture. The global specialty chemicals is growing at a CAGR of about 6.4, and Indian specialty chemical is growing at about 12.4. So you can see the Indian market is growing faster than the globally. Indian API market is growing at a CAGR of about 7.9%. Indian CDMO market is growing at a speed of about 12%. So the contract manufacturing division is having a lot of tailwinds. The vitamin B3 market globally is growing slow at about 2.5%. Nutrition market at 6.9%, which is good. Indian nutrition market about 11%. So again, in nutrition, the Indian market is growing faster. Global acetic anhydride market is growing at about 3.6%. Ethyl acetate about 4.5%. So globally, you can see it is about a decent growth rate. The global customers now, the broad trends, what are happening are the global customers now are looking for a cost-effective place of purchase for a country like India. They want an alternative from a country like China. And India is emerging as a global hub for manufacturing different specialty chemicals. So all these indicate that this company will get a strong tailwind from the industry's growth itself. Who are the different competitors on a broad basis? You can see that Atul Limited, Lakshmi Organics, Shri Ganesh Remedies, Balaji Amines, Rallis, Dhanuka Bharat Rasayan, Sumitomo Chemicals, Advanced Enzymes, Excel Industries. These are the few companies who are competitors of this. Although this company is very diversified, so there cannot be a direct competitor manufacturing all these products. So a few of the chemicals which they manufacture are manufactured by these companies. And there are a lot of unlisted players also which they manufacture the same thing which Jubilant does. But Jubilant has a lot of difference in terms of leadership and cost advantage. Now, what are the competitive strengths which Jubilant Ingrevia has when compared to the others? They have market leading positions in various products which create a lot of high barriers for another company to enter their business. This is what we look for when we buy any company. They have a very diversified and de-risked business model, as we saw in terms of geographies, in terms of products, in terms of industries in which their customers are. They have robust investments into R&D. They have a strong product pipeline coming up. They have best-in-class manufacturing facilities. They are focusing on digital transformation of their entire business. They have a very well experienced team managing the companies. They have more than 35 technologies where they have mastered, and they have both forward and backward integration, as we have discussed, from right from the early stage of intermediates till the final product. They are vertically integrated. They have cost competitiveness, and for many of their products they are the lowest cost producers in the world. So what are the different growth prospects of this company? They have more than 60 products in the pipeline for the next 3 to 4 years. Out of this, 32 products would be from specialty chemicals, and about 24 from nutrition, and about 7 from life sciences. They still continue to optimize their operations and increase their cost effectiveness to remain competitive globally. And they have a lot of new products coming in into agrochemicals, nutrition, CDMO, and antimicrobials. They keep introducing new and new technologies, and they are building a strong scientific advisory board. They are doing forward integration. Geographically, they are entering more countries. And broadly division wise, there are a lot of capex plans. In the specialty chemicals, in the next 3 years, they plan to invest about 550 crores. In nutrition and health, they have a plan of about 100 crores in the next 3 years. And in life sciences chemicals, they have about 250 crore investment coming up in the next 3 years. So all these capex plans will eventually result in a massive increase in the revenue. They are now entering diketene derivatives market, where the only competitor in India is Lakshmi Organics. So these are the different growth plans of this company. What are the different risks which this company might face? First and obvious risk is from the competition, their dependence on the other companies for the raw materials, the forex fluctuations because of the revenue is from exports, the effectiveness of R&D, the success of R&D expenditure which they invest in, the price competitiveness because a few of the products are very price sensitive and few of them are very commoditative in nature. They have a lot of regulatory compliances to be done, and they have to protect their intellectual property rights. Information technology risk is almost with every company now, and eventualities like COVID-19 will affect the company's growth. Now coming to the financial part, now that we have understood the business in detail, we are starting off with the 9 months FY21 compared to 9 months last year FY20. Revenue is about 2413 crores, which is up by 2%. EBITDA is 418 crores, up by 34%. EBITDA margin is 17% compared to 13% last year. Profit after tax is 221 crores, up by 28%. Profit after tax margin is better from 7% to 9%. And the nutrition and health solutions, this segment grew by almost 16% year on year. So margins have also expanded, and the segments have grown decent in spite of the difficulties of the pandemic this year. If you see the revenue in FY19, they clocked about 3545 crores of revenue. In FY20, about 3179. In the 9 months FY21, it's about 2413. So they should end the year with almost the same revenue as last year or slightly better. Compared to the earlier years, EBITDA is almost at the same range, about 445 crores to 418 crores. But in the latest year, they will be crossing in the earlier years, as they've already done about 418 crores till now. The net debt is falling, so this is an indication that debt is under control and the liquidity position is getting better. Operating cash flows are rising from 235 crores to 355 crores in just 9 months. So the cash flow position is getting better. So every year they are doing some capex expenditure or the other. Although in 9 months FY21 they couldn't do much because of the scenarios around. But going further, as we have discussed, they have about 900 crores of capex planned in the next 3 years. EBITDA margin is ranging from about 13 to 17%, but that is expanding. ROCE is from 14.8% in FY19 to 17.9% in FY21. And in FY20, they commissioned a new plant of acetic anhydride, due to which the ROCE is less. Asset turnover is from 2.4x to about 1.9x now, and it has gone down a little because of their additions in capacities. Statutory auditors of this company are BSR and Company. Let's talk about the shareholding pattern. The promoters hold about 50.7%, which is pretty decent. Public about 23.7%. DIIs hold about 1.3%, and FPI is about 24.3%. Interestingly, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala holds about 6.29% in different names of his group, and in the March quarter, he has increased the stake in this company. Let's talk about the valuations, which is an interesting area. Last traded price is about 410, 52-week high and low is 241 to 432. This is just after the listing after demerger. Market cap is around 6,500 crores, so it's still a small company and there is still a lot of scope of growth. EPS for the 9 months FY21 comes to about 14 rupees. Proportionately, if I take this for the entire year, it comes to around 19 rupees. And at this, if I calculate, the PE ratio comes to around 22 rupees. Industry PE, if I consider at 25, I feel the valuations are quite reasonable. Since some of its peers are trading at very much higher valuations, as the chemical industry has been given a lot of importance and the stock prices have risen very much. And if you look at the forward PE also, it will be much cheaper. So the valuations of this company are quite comfortable even at the price of around 400. But there could be some fall expected along with the market, and we can accumulate at somewhere around 350 levels if at all you wish to do so. Or if it doesn't fall, you can do an SIP. So this is an analysis, this is not a recommendation. You can do your own analysis before making a purchase decision. Coming to the recent news and announcements, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, as you discussed, increased the stake in March 21. They have about 4.25 crores investment in a plant-based meat startup called Mr. Veg Foods Private Limited. And the management is expecting the company to grow in double digits in the next 3 to 5 years. So this is about Jubilant Ingrevia. I hope you find this case study interesting. To sum up, the group is a trustworthy conglomerate group and they have strong fundamentals. They are expecting double-digit growth. They have industrial tailwinds which will give them a boost. They have strong capex plans in the next 3 years. They are diversified and a de-risked company. So they have not much effects due to volatility. The margins of this company are expanding. They are vertically integrated. They have global presence. They have leadership in different products and also in terms of cost. The debt is under control. There is competition with others, but the valuation seems to be reasonable. So this is about Jubilant Ingrevia. I hope you like the video. If you like it, please hit the like button, do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon and follow me on different social media channels as well. Thank you for watching the video and have a wonderful, wonderful day.